Today, the anti-hero known as Monge just wants to have a good time, but what happens when his antics accidentally lead to the end of the world? Now, 500 years later, could Monge actually be the saviour that we've all been waiting for? This is Monge number 1. Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics and the Cross, the greatest YouTubers that you've never heard of. I'm your host for today, Cross, and we are checking out Monge number 1, a Kickstarter-funded comic, self-published by its creator, and we are super excited to be checking this out here on Comics and the Cross. But before we delve into Monge, please make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button if you are enjoying the content here so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. And if you can go ahead and hit that like button if you're enjoying it as well, as it really does help us out in the YouTube algorithm. So we are checking out Monge number 1 today. This is a comic I actually picked up months ago and completely planned to cover here on the podcast. On the channel even. We used to do a podcast, so that's apparently still in my head. But that we were going to cover it here on the channel, but I had overloaded myself so much with work for the channel, stuff to cover, that covering Monge just honestly kind of fell through the cracks, and it's a massive oversight that has taken us this long to cover it here. So I am super excited now that we're out of all of the Crosstober stuff, we're out of all the craziness, and we are here in November getting to finally talk about this amazing comic. So Monge number 1 is actually created by Zeo Niu, a Chinese immigrant to America, born and raised in China, now lives in LA as a writer and comedian, living in Los Angeles, and created Monge as a reimagining of the 16th century novel Journey to the West, a very popular novel in China, although English-speaking countries likely know the story better from Arthur Waley's 1942 abridged adaptation, simply titled Monge. There have been plenty of adaptations of Journey to the West. Weirdly enough, at the same time that I picked up Monge, there was a fairly successful other adaptation of it in the gaming side of things, with Black Myth Wukong making massive waves based upon the same story. But I guarantee to you, there has never been an adaptation quite like Monge. So I think that's it for now, so let's jump on in and see what Monge number 1 has in store for us. Monge number 1 is written and created by Zeo Niu, with artwork from David Mange Bautista. Colours are by Nikos Koutsis, and additional colouring from Rico Renzi. And finally lettering from Cvetkovic. Our issue begins in 1967 in front of the White House in Washington DC. The calm and quiet is all of a sudden shattered by a capsule streaking across the sky and heading towards the ground. Inside is our rebellious anti-hero as he quickly tries to make repairs before he crashes. Unfortunately, he's unsuccessful and his capsule crashes straight into the White House, completely destroying the building. Monge's unconscious body is found in the rubble by a heavily armed military unit, who are requesting orders on how to proceed. Meanwhile, in a secret military base just outside of Washington DC, a number of the army's higher up generals are all meeting together to discuss exactly how to handle the Monge situation. They are joined by a very flamboyant MI5 agent and British emissary, Pierce, who has a few ideas of his own. One of the generals speaks up though and is completely adamant we have to take advantage of the situation and do whatever we can to incapacitate and lock up Monge. Another one of the generals, however, speaks up and tells him it's never quite that simple. To which Pierce starts to pry a little bit and says, "Didn't you have an encounter with Monge at some point?" He confirms that he did and begins to tell the story of how his unit came across Monge. To General was part of a special forces team sent to hunt Monkey. They successfully tracked him down to a gas station bathroom, and they attempted to apprehend him. Monkey was blow drying and combing his hair when they stormed the bathroom. When Monkey noticed that the special forces were bursting in on him, he was somehow able to take a spark from the hairdryer igniting and turn the hairdryer into a full-on flamethrower. Monkey, while avoiding any shots from the guards' guns, was then able to turn his new flamethrower on the Special Forces team and proceeded to burn the entire unit alive, and left just the General as the sole survivor of the ordeal, although his face was badly scarred as a result. The General does concede, however, that they may never have another opportunity like this where Monkey is literally unconscious and at their mercy to capture and dispose of him. But just as he's starting to come around, another one of the Generals speaks up, as he has also had an encounter with Monkey in the past as well, and wants to make sure to share his story, as he also is aware of how dangerous Monkey can be. He was part of a Special Forces team hunting Monkey as well, and they tracked him down to a warehouse thanks to a special tip. But when the team went in to infiltrate the facility, there was no sign of him. That is until one of the team spotted him dangling upside down through one of the skylights. The special unit immediately opened fire on Monkey, but Monkey was able to evade every single shot, and in doing so also dropped a giant metal girder down on two members of the team. Most of the team are then impaled as Monkey launches rebar across the room, while also grabbing a hold of two buzzsaws to cut down any other team members still alive following this. The only one left is the General, who is just humiliated by Monkey as he goes ahead and pantses him and then pistol whips him with his own gun. Due to an inability to come to some sort of agreement and being unable to reach the president at this time, Piers steps up with an idea of how to handle the Monkey situation. He introduces a colleague of his, Dr. Goodyear, who has created an alloy that is pliable and nigh invincible, and he believes this is the solution. They can bury Monkey in a coffin made of this alloy and potentially be done with the menace for good. The generals agree to Piers's plan, and they construct a metal coffin for Monkey made out of the indestructible alloy and bury him. They then proceed to fill the hole up with cement and take every step possible to make sure that Monkey cannot make his way out. A week later, and it appears the plan has worked, and there are no signs of life coming from the burial site. Piers does inquire though as to what the official response from the USA is going to be on the destruction of the White House, and he is told that it will be blamed on the Soviet Union, an attempt to remove Monkey from people's thoughts. We then fast forward 500 years and join Monkey, who is now free of his prison. He is also travelling alongside Piers, who has been transformed into an anthropomorphic pig. We don't get any more details on their situation at this time, such as how Monkey escaped, how Piers got transformed and is even still alive 500 years later, or even how the two met each other and became travelling companions, but I'm hoping that this is something that we'll hopefully see more details for in upcoming issues. For now though, the two are in Toulouse, and they're visiting the evangelical Almighty Monkey God Church, a religious group dedicated to worshipping Monkey and his exploits from centuries ago. His exploits have become legend and religious text for this group. Piers is sarcastically asking about some of the great exploits and saying how great it would be if Monkey himself was here today, knowing full well that Monkey hates all of this and that it's really getting under his skin. We do learn though that the destruction of the White House and Monkey's imprisonment was what led to World War III and the beginning of the end of the world as we knew it. Monkey has had just about all he can take of the church at this time though, so he and Piers go outside to get something to eat. The two come across a little shack called Buck's Depot and decide to peruse his stock to see what he has available for eating. Unfortunately for them, all the locally sourced food that Buck has in stock appears to have come from actual locals that Buck has encountered on his travels. However, while they're there, Pierce spots some lucky talismans for sale, and one of them is in the shape of Monkey's head. As Monkey removes his hood to take a closer look at the talisman, Buck completely freaks out as he recognises Monkey. Buck then shows Monkey and Pierce a journal from his great-great-great-grandfather that was used to collect all the information he could find on Monkey. The journal, along with as many stories as he could possibly tell about Monkey, were passed down to his descendants as a family heirloom until it made its way to Buck. We then travel back to 1952 in Monument Valley, California, where there's a team of archaeologists that are excavating a site in the middle of the sweltering California heat. After what is likely a number of hours of digging, they have uncovered a fossil of a dinosaur along with what appears to be a perfectly preserved fossilized dinosaur egg. Excited for the discovery, the group brings the massive egg back to their camp. But in the middle of the night, one of the team members, O'Brien, gets up to use the bathroom. He's scared by a scorpion that sneaks up behind him. He jumps backwards in fear and bumps the egg, which topples over and rolls into the fire pit. As he yells in disbelief, the rest of the camp is woken up and jump into action trying to help him put out the flames and save the egg. They are able to douse out the fire, but unfortunately the egg seems to have taken damage and is already starting to form cracks. But as the group start to argue with one another, a blinding light blasts out of the egg as it hatches, and Monkey is revealed to have been what is on the inside. They have no idea what the creature is, and are concerned that he's going to run off and they'll lose their discovery. They quickly find that he has got no intention of running away, as he is far too curious about interacting with, exploring and imitating the people in the new group that he is part of. The group decide that they're going to take Monkey with them back to the museum that they're from. On the road, the group stops at a gas station and unintentionally interrupt a robbery in progress. The cleric attempts to fight back but is gunned down by the thieves. The robbers argue about whether to kill the group or not, and decide that the best course of action is to just tie them up. But when they attempt to take Monkey to tie him up, he springs into action, throwing the drink that he just got in the face of one of the robbers and jumping on his head. As his partner tries to get Monkey off his head, he ends up shooting him, as Monkey dives onto the second man, incapacitating him and taking his gun, then disassembling it, all while the archaeologists look on in absolute shock. The archaeologists decide to run and avoid the police, all in the hopes that they can keep their newfound companion a secret for now. As we come back to the present, or maybe that should be the future. Either way, Bucks is under attack as a group of lizard men riding in flying cars are bearing down on Buck's Depot, all heavily armed and ready to attack. Buck activates his store and it begins to fold and close in on itself, leaving Buck, Monkey and Pierce scrambling to try and make an exit and get out of the shrinking building before it crushes them inside of it. They run for cover and Pierce asks what Buck plans to do, and Buck tells him that he is fleeing underground for his dear life, while activating a mechanical crab-looking vehicle that he loads his shop onto, and it begins to dig down into the ground and away from the battle. All the while he's apologising to Monkey and Pierce for leaving them behind, but he can't really take them as it's a one-person ride. He does, however, offer them some free popsicles next time they come by the store, as long as they survive this encounter, that is. Left to fend for themselves, Monkey and Pierce jump into battle with the lizard people. Pierce whips out a multi-gun contraption and unleashes a barrage of bullets on the lizards, and is even able to take some of them down, but he quickly runs out of ammo, and didn't bring any of his reloads with him as he wasn't expecting to get into a fight. Monge seizes his opportunity and uses his expert athleticism to board one of the flying cars. He knocks the lizard people off of it and hijacks it from underneath them. The issue comes to a close with Monge and Piers running from the fight as they realise there is a massive fleet of reinforcements making their way towards them and into the battle. I honestly thoroughly enjoyed this first issue of Monge. I really wasn't sure what to expect coming in. As much as I enjoyed the blurbs on Kickstarter, the talk about it being a take on Journey to the West, the fact of everything seemed to be really interesting about it. The honest truth is, whenever you're backing something on Kickstarter or GoFundMe or Indiegogo or any of these other funding platforms, unless you specifically know the creators, if it's an unknown creator, an unknown writer, an unknown artist, it's honestly a bit of a crapshoot on there. You don't always know what you're getting in for. I have definitely backed projects on these funding sites that have not lived up to expectation and have not been honestly worthwhile getting into. You know, it's hard to find people who are actually doing amazing creative things on there that are worth backing, worth checking. And I completely take into account how hard it is to create a comic, but some of them are like I would not want to necessarily get and back, and I don't think is a standard I want to always check out. But I'm really happy to say that Monge meets that standard and then some. It meets the standard of a great comic in many ways. Like, I have to give utter props to Zeo for her interpretation of the Journey to the West story, the story of Monge, the Monkey King, whatever interpretation of it, especially with so many interpretations out there, especially in the English world, because we've tried to create and retell the story so many ways. But I've never heard of it told in this way before, where Monge is a very kind of punk rock anti-hero rebel that brings about the end of the world and the apocalypse, and we even see that like he's kind of becomes a savior, and like people start talking about him, he can be the one to save the world. He's the one that we're all backing and expect to do these amazing things, and it's like, is he though? Like he doesn't want it. He definitely doesn't want to be that. But it's a really intriguing story, and it's a really fun story. One of the things I have to really give credit for as well, besides the story itself, is honestly the art in it. From David Bautista and Nikos Koutsis for the artwork and the colouring is absolutely phenomenal. And props to Zeo for writing and creating Monge and also allowing herself to step back in the storytelling. There are so many amazing pages. Like, you've probably seen some of them even during this review. I didn't have to edit out text boxes, I didn't have to edit out anything. It was just allowing the art and the pictures and the drawings and the colours to tell the story of what was happening with Monge, of what was taking place, and allowing it to just be. And it honestly done such a good job of it. It was an absolutely phenomenal read. The book as well, I've got to compliment, like putting in the work to bring out like a 20-page issue is enough hard work, but Monge issue 1 is the size of a small trade paperback. It's 66 issues. It's basically issues 1 to 3 all tied up in one book. And it's absolutely phenomenal to sit and go through that, get so much depth, so much story, so much storytelling in that amount of time, but also to be able to just sit and comfortably fly through it. It wasn't a hard and difficult read, but it was a very enjoyable read. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the way the story was told, the fact of there's a lot of time jumps in this story as well, specifically between 3 different time periods. Between when Monge's origin started, when his egg was found and he hatched, to the destruction of the White House in 1965, and then to 500 years later in the post-apocalyptic world. But at no point was I lost. At no point did it feel like we were jumping about too much or it was out of place. I feel like we got a great set up for who Monkey was and what happened to the beginning of the end of the world. With enough intrigue, we got to see the world that Monkey's actually living in now, the post-apocalyptic world, and then also got a little hint at his origin, all wrapped up in the one story and all told beautifully, and none of it overstayed its welcome. None of it felt like it was too long or too dragged out. I also want to commend it as well for the storytelling in terms of the character development. Monkey is the main character. We don't actually spend that much time just with Monkey. And it's so bizarre to say because he is throughout the book. We see his life, we see his story, we see what happened to him. But so much of learning who he is told through interactions of other people. Other people's experiences with him, other people interacting and talking to each other about it. Other people giving their thoughts and their opinions and seeing how Monkey reacts to it in terms of like the church and, you know, them like worshipping the monkey god and his reaction to it and different things. Like, we get so much character for him for how little. He doesn't speak a whole lot in this issue. We don't see his emotions a lot of the time. We don't get a lot of what's happening with him. But yeah, I fully get a feel for who he is as a character and what he's all about. And it's really an intriguing thing to see. I'm really excited to see where they go with the character. I also have to give a shout out to probably one of my favourite characters in the whole book, Piers. Like, I need to know his story and what happened to him. How did he go from this flamboyant MI5 agent working with the American military to this anthropomorphic pig that is somehow surviving 500 years later, and not only that, is now travelling with Monkey and friends with him? Like, I need to know more of that. Like, I am fully invested in this. I'm fully invested in learning more about it. I fully want to see where she takes this story. And I'm really intrigued to see, like, I'm really intrigued to get into learning more about Journey to the West. I know bits and pieces and elements of it, but I don't know it that in depth. And I'm really intrigued to delve more into the original story now. And I know I'll never get through the whole original story. My ADHD won't allow me to sit down and read something that long. But I know there's abridged versions, like the English translation Monkey, the novel. I know there's movies that have been made about it and TV adaptations. I might even go pick up Black Myth Wukong to get their interpretation of it, just to get as much as I can about the setup and understanding, because when we get into the next issue, I want to see, like, I want to be able to look back at issue 1 and then look at issue 2 and go, okay, that's taken from the story. That's a reference to that bit of the story. Like, I know Monkey goes through a whole bunch of trials in Journey to the West, and I almost see, like, when they're in the church and you see all the exploits that Monkey's done, all these crazy things that he's done, I'm almost like, that feels like it's the exploits of, not the exploits, what's the word? I've lost the word, but for Heracles in the Greek myths, and it's like, it feels very in line with that, and I'm like, okay, are we going to get more reference to that? Are we going to find out more of this stuff? Like, I am so invested in this, and this was such a pleasure and a delight to read. Obviously the Kickstarter is long done for. It was successfully funded, so congratulations to Zeo and her crew for that. But I absolutely 100% cannot wait for the second issue to drop on Kickstarter. I will be backing it immediately as soon as it comes out. I need to get a hold of it and see what happens next. I don't know if this is going to be getting a wider release, but if the second issue hits Kickstarter and there's an option to pick up number 1 and 2, I highly recommend grabbing them both and checking it out for yourself. It is well worth it. It is well worth reading, and this was a really enjoyable story. I'm so glad I finally got to do this video. I'm so glad I finally got to talk about how awesome this book is. It's been just sitting in the back of my head that this had to get done, and it's been such a pleasure to finally get this out there. So if you're wanting to check out Monkey, let us know in the comments below if you like the sound of the story. What do you think of Journey to the West? Is that a story you know of? Do you have a favourite adaptation of it? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll make sure to get you connected and keep you up to date when the next one drops. But I think for now, that is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Also, remember, check out our official affiliates at BCW. Protect, store and display all your comics and collectibles. Use our link down below to help get what you need and also help support Comics Cross through it. And use code ComicsCross to save 10% on your purchases as well. But that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate you all being here. Remember, it is a good week to be a geek, and we will see you all in the next video. Peace.